What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today when I talk to you about Lucid, I want to go over some of the data points, what's really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid's down 1.64%, largely just piggybacking off of the broader market's fear. And a lot of that fear is because of this. So a increase in tension between China and the States. So China mentioned overnight yesterday saying that they're going to be fighting the States to the end. And they said a couple other comments, but it doesn't look like they are going to be backing down. Similar type of scenario back in April. Of course, Trump, to alleviate these concerns, just did a temporary pause. But still, it looks like China is willing to fight to the end for the rare mineral. So we'll have to wait and see how that does play out. But we are seeing extremely low volume in Lucid's case. So 1.8 million shares being traded, 11 is the average. And a lot of that is because of this. So we do have Powell speaking in roughly around an hour. And that could make for a very interesting time. Last speech, he didn't talk about anything for monetary policy. That kind of spooked the broader market because they were wanting him to come out and really double down on, hey, we're going to have multiple cuts in 2025. So we'll have to kind of wait and see. So that's going to be in about an hour, hour and a half. I didn't do a Lucid video yesterday, but there was some things that did come out. So Lucid put this out yesterday. So it looks like San Jose and San Diego did get new studios. So good stuff for that. Down here it does say customer demand for Lucid vehicles continues to accelerate. So California clearly is doing fairly well. So good stuff for this. Is this a reason to buy Lucid or sell? Not so much, unfortunately, but it is still good that there is a good amount of or a level amount of demand. Only other thing was just posted today, first thing, and it shows Lucid Air Sapphire takes the crown as the 2026 German car of the year in the performance category. So I think generally the Sapphire was already named the king of the Autobahn back in 2022, 2023, somewhere around there. And so yeah, good stuff. I think generally all of us know that Lucid has the best tech. So a lot of these are like, cool, good stuff. Whereas back in the day, this used to take the stock price higher and cause a little bit of a rally. Nothing crazy like 3 to 5%, but still, now this goes to show that the market doesn't really care so much about this. That's just another award in their kind of shelf. So let me know your viewpoint on that. And when it comes down to it, Lucid actually did put out news on a Saturday, which was very odd. And that was this right here. So Lucid Gravity Grand Touring customer deliveries begin in Canada. So a lot of people over the last day and a half were talking about this, how this is huge. So in here, they don't really talk about any numbers. That's kind of the bad thing. And I always like to play devil's advocate. Sometimes gets me not really popular because people generally only want to hear positive things. But I've seen similar type of PRs for this in Lucid's case, and it not really being 100% accurate. So in general, customer deliveries might just be 5 because with the current tariffs, I can't realistically see any Canadian paying 25% more for this vehicle. So 134.5. And as I've mentioned, given the Canadian, aside from, I guess, maybe Vancouver possibly, but the Canadian environment is not suitable for LiDAR and a lot of the technology that Lucid has. And one thing as well, I had a discussion back when Michael Bell was still employed with Lucid, and he just said, yeah, given the circumstances in Canada, it's not all that great. When I went to Toronto as well, I asked the advisors there, they said the exact same thing, that the technology isn't really suited for just the Canadian winters, and which that makes up for pretty much 90% of our year, which is very unfortunate. But nonetheless, though, I don't really see this being as a good catalyst. So sorry to burst some people's bubbles. It's just not really there. At the same time, this recently did come out. So again, further validating that Canada isn't looking at the States for any vehicles whatsoever. So it looks like there's a petition, and multiple different provinces did this same type of thing. So they're wanting to remove tariffs on Chinese EVs. So it looks like Canada wants to go to China rather than look down into the States. So yes, we might have some customer deliveries. Are they significant? Are they going to be impactful? No. So again, I like to say it how it is. So sorry to burst some of your bubbles. But aside from that, shorts are returning about 32,000 shares. So nothing significant. So clearly they also are waiting for Powell just to see what he's going to say. But 31.08% of the free float's being shorted. Works to be 39.4 million shares overall being shorted. Looking at the options, 117,000 in calls, 3.3 million in puts. 56% of all the options being done are bearish in nature. And a lot of that comes from this. So between 9:55 and 10, there was $3 million in premiums. And if we kind of pop this open and sort it based on premiums, a lot of which is neutral, but it looks like $21 put and $19 puts for November 21st, 2025. So 30 days or 38 days out. So kind of interesting as far as that. From a bull standpoint, you do see a consensus for it to be roughly around that 22.50 to 23.50. So there's a good amount of recovery anticipated. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub, kind of not really much to go on here. So most likely sub 21, I would say, given the circumstances. These are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. So you did have a fair amount of buying first thing, couple sells most recently around that $10 range, and based on the timestamp, all of these four were the same entity. These are all the transactions occurring on the dark pool. So not really much going on as far as this. So again, I think a lot of that has to do with shorts not really doing all that much. Right now with it at 20.92, it is trading between these 2 points, so this pivot and this S1. So today, best case scenario, it does close above that 21.19 to really see some nice recovery. If not, then you could potentially see a little bit of a pullback. So 17.65 is going to be the strong support. I'm looking at the 1-day chart on a side note, moving over to the 4-hour, just in case you want to day trade, swing trade. 20.75 will be a strong support. So again, if you're wanting to dollar cost average, swing trade, that followed by 1974. I don't really see that 1974 being touched, but potentially with Powell, and if he comes all doom and gloomish, that could cause a rollover into the next couple of trading days. Aside from all of that fun stuff, on the actual chart itself, you can kind of see algos are the main force that's causing a certain level of suppression. And honestly, that's been the case for the last week and a half in Lucid's actual circumstances. There hasn't really been all that much in news, any articles, nothing coming from any new analyst ratings. So now people are just waiting. Right now, it is below that 50-day moving average, and generally that is a very big deal for Lucid. But looking at the market position in comparison to yesterday, not really that much change. But you do have some willing buyers up until around that 1980, and if that does break, then you could see a very significant free fall. So at the end of the day, I think everyone's just holding their breath for Powell, but I think given the circumstances, if he comes in and says, hey, we might be actually having another cut, and whether that be for October or the following meeting, that could be that nice gentle catalyst and push that the market does need to really push things higher. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? I've also received some comments on when am I buying next. And I think I recently did do some selling of puts. So I've been kind of buying. I think my last purchase was exactly at $20. And with my premium, it brought it down to like $19.50. But I would rather wait up until Lucid's earnings just to hear that they actually are making some good concrete progress. So as what I even mentioned on my video over the weekend, just people aren't really looking at Lucid all that much. So over the next couple of trading days, I will be incorporating different EVs as well. So Polestar being one of them, Rivian, Tesla. So I'll be starting to talk about other stocks because I think generally Lucid just needs to kind of prove themselves. And so let me know your thoughts on Lucid. One final thing though, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.